Okay, here we go. So this is section 3 in chapter 12, and we're converting weights. And really the only weights that you have to worry about in this section, it's kind of nice. There isn't a whole lot to choose from. Don't sharpen now. Thank you. Should have done that a moment ago. We're talking about tons, and we're talking about pounds, and we're talking about ounces. So let's look at the example they give us here. It says an adult African elephant weighs about 5 tons. Oh, I got to switch to my working layer 2. There we go. And it says a baby African elephant weighs about 250 pounds. It says how many pounds does the adult elephant weigh? And then it asks the second question, how can you convert the 250 pounds to tons? Well, let's see how many pounds it weighs first. So it tells us right here, it says 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So 2 tons would be 4,000 pounds. 5 tons would be what? 5,000 pounds? 10,000. Okay. It's 5 tons. That's going to be 2,000 plus 2,000 plus 2,000 plus 2,000 plus 2,000. That's going to be 10,000. Okay? And the same thing is going on when we convert from a larger unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. When you convert from a smaller unit to a larger unit, I don't know if I said it right the last time, you divide. So from larger to smaller, multiply. From smaller to larger, you divide. And that's what we've been doing here for the last few days. So if you wanted to convert 250 pounds to tons, you would divide 250 by 2,000. They've set it up here for you. And 250 goes into itself once, and then it goes into 2,000 8 times, and so that would turn into 1/8. Most of you guys should be familiar with that by now. That convinced me, it says, when you convert 16 pounds to ounces, do you multiply or divide? So we're going from pounds to ounces. So my question is, as I look at this right here, are we going from larger to smaller or smaller to larger? Larger to smaller, so we're going to multiply. So when you convert 16 pounds to ounces, do you multiply or divide? Explain. Going from larger to smaller, you multiply. So 16 pounds, it's going to be 16 2 ounces times, well, let's go back to the top here. How many ounces are in 1 pound? 16. So it would be simply 16 times 16 equals, I'll let you figure that one out. That would tell you how many ounces are in 16 pounds. Let's drop down to the guided practice. It says, Mr. Fall, it says, would it be best to measure the weight of an egg in tons, in pounds, or in ounces? What do you think, Mr. Fall?
Ounces.
Yeah, I think so. A pound's a bit much, and obviously a ton is way too much. So ounces, I'll just put OZ. Gosh, how could you phrase that? Say again, honey?
They make no sense for it to be tons of pounds.
Sure. to use pounds or tons. It's obviously too big. Kind of goes back to that problem we had a week or so ago when I asked how would we measure the distance from Valley Springs School to Toyon. It was 4.5 miles, and you wouldn't use a ruler, you wouldn't use a yardstick, you would use the mile. Number 2, what type of tools do people select to measure weight? You don't need to explain your example. I'm not worried about that. So what kind of tools?
Scale.
Scale. What else?
The little thing that when you put one thing in and another and it seems.
Yeah, it's a balance beam or a balance scale. I don't know, what else could we use to measure? A balance scale, yeah. If you put grams on one side or ounces, and then if it levels out, you know it weighs the same amount as what you've got on the other side. So it does tell you. What's that?
How to be exactly.
Yeah, you can get pretty exact. So let me ask you, how many of you, raise your hand, how many of you have gone to the dump with your parents? Okay, put your hands down. Most of you. How many of you, your parents own a pickup, and when they've gone, they're towing a trailer, and when they've gone to the dump, and I don't know if the one here in Calaveras has that, has a great big scale that you drive on. How many of you have seen your parents do that, or you've seen that done? Okay, a few of you. So what it does is they're charging you by how much garbage you're dumping. So you drive onto the scale and it weighs your trailer in your car, and then you drive to the dump and you empty your trailer, and then you drive back onto the scale and they figure out the difference. Well, when we talk about difference, we're talking about subtracting. So if it weighs 350 pounds less than it did the first time, they know that you got rid of 350 pounds worth of garbage, and then they charge you, per pound. Yes?
Also by the recycling place, by Brush Outlet, they measure the recycling.
By weight?
Yeah.
Okay, so the recycling measures by weight. So anyway, scales, a balance scale, and they come in all kinds of sizes. Number 3 here, it says convert each unit of weight. Well, 2,000 pounds, LB is short for pounds, equals how many tons? 1 ton. Let's go back to the top of the page here. They tell you. Right there, 1 ton is 2,000 pounds.
They gave me the answer.
Okay, yeah, they gave you the answer. All right, take a look at number 6 here. That was number 3. Number 6 says a half a pound, and again, LB is short for pound, equals how many ounces? Well, let me ask you the question. 1 pound equals how many ounces? Who remembers? 16. So what would a half a pound be? What's half of 16? 8. Okay. I wanted to jump down and look at number 10. Number 10 here. It says 7 1/10 of a ton equals how many pounds? So let's break this up into 2 easy ways to figure this out. First off, 7 tons equals how many pounds? 14,000. Done with that part. Now we only have to worry about the 1/10. 1/10 of a ton equals how many pounds? Well, so I heard somebody say it. If a ton is 2,000 pounds, we just need to figure out what 1/10 of that would be. Another way to look at it is you could divide it by 10, and I heard somebody say it would be 200. Does 200, if we divided 10 into 2,000, what do we get? 200. Okay. Another way to look at it is if we were to draw a scale, and here's 0 and here's 2,000, and we made 10 marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this would be 10. Each one of these marks would be, this would be 200, this would be 400, 600, 800, and if we labeled each mark, we would come to 2,000 at 10 marks. Okay? If you actually had to figure it out, you would do this. When we go from smaller to larger, we could look at it like 1/10 times 2,000, which is the same as 1/10 times 2,000 over 10, or 2,000 over 1. So that would become 2,000 over 10, which is where we came up with the dividing. Because in a fraction form, it's 2,000 over 10. Okay? So lots of different ways to look at that and to solve that kind of problem. So it would be, what did we say here? So 14,000, comma, 200 pounds. There's your answer to number 10.
You should write it down.
All right. Complete each table. We already talked about this. A half a pound is how many ounces?
8.
Okay. And how many ounces are in 1 pound?
4.
So what's 16 plus 16?
32.
So this would be 2 pounds. You guys can figure those out and finish solving the rest of those. Let's drop down to the problem solving. Think about this one. It says the perimeter. Now remember, the perimeter is you're measuring the area around something. So they give us this side. That's 50 feet. So if that's 50 feet, what's this side? Okay. We don't know what these two sides are, but they did give us the perimeter, the total perimeter. What is it? 160. So we've got 2 of the sides so far, which is 100, right? And if we subtracted 100 from 160, what are we left with? 60. So what's 60 divided by 2? 30. 30 feet, 30 feet. Then it says, what's the question here? Then it says, what is the area of the playground? So we've got the perimeter. You should be able to figure out the area. All right. So it says, I'm looking at 21 here. Humans exploring the space have left behind bags of trash, bolts, gloves, pieces of satellites. There are currently about this many pounds of litter in orbit around the Earth. Julia says this amount, using number names, in other words, writing it down, is 4 billion. Do you agree? I'll let you answer that. In other words, they're asking, is that 4 billion, or is that a different number? Okay? All right. Last thing I really wanted to talk about here. Let's see. What would be the most appropriate unit to measure the combined weight of 4 horses? So they're talking about tons, pounds, or ounces. That's what they're asking. Number 23, about how much would 4 horses weigh? And then it says write it in 2 different ways. I'm not worried about that. Scratch that out. But you could tell me about how much 4 horses would weigh. Number 24, Mr. Cosgrove, it says how many more ounces does the sheep weigh than the ape? Now, this is important here. What does an ape, look at your chart. What does the ape weigh?
100 pounds.
Yeah. It looks like it's about halfway to 200, so I'm going to just draw a little line here, and I'm going to put 100 pounds, just so you guys know. And then, looking at the horse here, how much does the average horse weigh?
1,500.
Yeah, I would say about 1,500 pounds. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. That's what you would use when you figure these out. And then number 25, it says, what's the difference in weight between the horse and the combined weight of a dolphin and the ape? And write your answer in tons. And you can do 26. And I think that's it. Okay, kept it to about 15 minutes, which is pretty good.